cold, sterile metal of the space capsule felt like an icy tomb to Commander Evelyn Tanaka. It had been weeks since she lost contact with Earth, with the rest of her crew. She was alone, stranded on an unknown planet, with nothing but her thoughts to keep her company. Her stomach churned with dread as she thought about her situation. Was she going to die alone on this desolate rock? Or worse, would she be the last of her kind, doomed to a fate of solitude? Evelyn had been part of a team sent to explore the planet's surface to see if it was viable for colonization. The planet was Earth-like in many ways, with a similar atmosphere, but it was devoid of life. They had set up their base camp and began their survey, but then things had started to go wrong. The communication array had malfunctioned, and they had lost contact with Earth. Then, one by one, the crew members had disappeared. Evelyn had been on a solo scouting mission when it happened, and when she returned, the others were gone. She had searched the base camp, but found nothing. No signs of struggle, no clues as to where they had gone. The only thing she found was a strange, unidentifiable substance on the ground, leading off into the distance. Evelyn had followed it for hours, but eventually petered out, leaving her alone in the middle of the barren landscape. Now, weeks later, Evelyn had resigned herself to her fate. She had enough food and water to last a few more weeks, but after that, it was over. She spent her days cataloging the planet's flora and fauna, trying to keep herself occupied, but her mind kept drifting back to the missing crew members. What had happened to them? Had they been abducted by some alien race? Or had they simply succumbed to the planet's harsh environment? One night, as Evelyn was settling in for the evening, she heard a strange noise outside the capsule. It was a faint whispering sound, like someone was speaking in a language she didn't understand. She checked the external cameras, but there was nothing there. She assumed it was just her imagination, a trick of the mind brought on by the isolation. But the noises continued, night after night. Sometimes it was whispers, sometimes it was scratching or banging. Evelyn tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. She was on edge all the time, waiting for the next sound to come. One day, as she was exploring the planet's surface, she came across a strange structure. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before. The walls were made of a smooth, black material that seemed to absorb all light. There were no windows or doors, no signs of life. But Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She returned to the capsule and tried to put the strange structure out of her mind, but it was impossible. The more she thought about it, the more she was convinced that it was connected to the disappearance of her crew members. She decided to investigate further and returned to the structure with a portable drill and a flashlight. As she drilled into the wall, the sound echoed through the silent landscape. Suddenly, the drill stopped, and Evelyn heard a strange hissing noise. She backed away from the wall, but it was too late. A cloud of gas burst forth, enveloping her in its noxious embrace. She fell to the ground, unconscious. When she awoke, she was no longer alone. Surrounding her were dozens of creatures, humanoid in shape, but with elongated limbs and heads that seemed to merge seamlessly into their bodies. Their skin was a sickly green color, and their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. They spoke to her in a language she couldn't understand, but their intentions were clear. They were not friendly. Evelyn tried to escape, but she was too weak from the gas. The creatures took her back to their structure, which was revealed to be a massive, underground complex. It was a labyrinth of twisting tunnels and chambers, filled with bizarre machinery and unidentifiable substances. As they dragged her deeper into the complex, Evelyn saw her crew members. They were alive, but they were changed. Their bodies had been altered, twisted and mutated beyond recognition. They were now like the creatures that had taken her, their minds broken and their wills no longer their own. Evelyn tried to fight back, but it was useless. The creatures were too powerful, their technology too advanced. They experimented on her, subjecting her to unspeakable horrors. They probed her mind, searching for the secrets of her species, the weaknesses they could exploit. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn lost track of time. She was a prisoner, a test subject, a victim. She saw things that no human should ever see, experienced pain that no one should ever feel. But then, something changed. She began to feel a strange power growing within her. It was a force that she couldn't explain, but it was there, pulsing through her veins. She used it to break free of her restraints, to fight back against the creatures that had taken her. She escaped the complex, running through the twisting tunnels, her mind focused on one thing: survival. She burst through the surface, gasping for air, and looked around. The planet was still desolate, still lifeless, but she was alive. Evelyn stumbled back to the capsule, collapsing inside. She was weak, injured, but still alive. And she had a power within her that the creatures had never seen before. She knew that they would come for her, that they would try to take her back, but she was ready for them now. She was a survivor, a fighter, a force to be reckoned with. And as the dark, silent landscape surrounded her, she knew that she would never give up. She would never let them take her again. She was the last of her kind, but she was not alone. She was a warrior, a hero, a beacon of hope in the endless void of space.